Well, I would start from a positive angle, if I may, even in this very, very difficult time that we are living, is that the solidarity which we have seen is something that we have not seen before. The unity with which European leaders, including Pedro and all the other prime ministers, that within hours have, over the past few months, decided on sanctions, hard-hitting sanctions on an autocratic regime that has invaded a country in Europe. Now comes the crunch time, a few very, very difficult days and weeks ahead, where we have to decide two things. Economically, do we go further? We need to continue putting on pressure on Russia. We are still today financing the war, whether directly or indirectly, because we're reliant on Russia for gas and electricity, but we also have been sheltering oligarchs in Europe for years and years with no consequence whatsoever. At the same time, we have them killing European citizens. Are we going to be able to overcome these concerns that we have with the whatever it takes moment that we need to take?
President, if I may, on the question of oil sanctions, we're seeing this in pass, and it's mostly coming from Hungary. Why do you think Prime Minister Orban is opposing these oil sanctions? Is he just too close to the Kremlin? Does he just want some more money from the EU? What are the reasons behind that?
Well, there are ongoing negotiations. Sanctions packages are always very, very difficult to adopt. In fact, something that we're also discussing is that do all these decisions need to be taken by unanimity at every stage of crises like this? We've sort of moved towards let's have more countries getting together and saying, can we act without one country wherever holding the whole European Union hostage? On this case, I continue to remain optimistic that it is a negotiating stance, because at the end of the day, Hungary, like my country, joined the European Union on the same day. We worked for decades to join the European Union, a club of fundamental principles, values that we all share. I remain optimistic that the Hungarian population continue to share that, and in order for that to happen, we need to have a common response, and that means taking it to the next level. Right. We hope for it to happen in the next few days, but if not, we will continue working for it.
Can I ask you about that timing? Because we keep on seeing the war drag on, the consequences of that. Is time of the essence to get this oil embargo in place?
2 days ago marked the third month of this war. You know, we cannot even remember the world before the 24th of February. The European Parliament has gone even further. We've been calling for a ban on all Russian exports in terms of energy, because we have been for way too long dependent on an unreliable, menacing, intimidating partner on our neighbourhood. And we've also gone a step further. We've ignored our colleagues from all countries that border Russia, who have been telling us we have a problem. We need to rely on each other. We need to invest more in renewables. We need to make sure that when we buy things that we need from outside, we buy them from our friends and not from our foes. So this is the time, let's say, crucial time, where Ukraine needs more help, needs more arms, needs more financial and logistical support, and at the same time needs the strongest of political messages to Russia that we will not continue to accept this.
The Ukrainians are also asking to join the EU. On this point, I've been seeing a lot of comment that perhaps we'll get a political commitment at the summit already in June. Is this timeline correct? Are we expecting the EU to give candidacy status to Ukraine as early as June?
Well, I can tell you that the European Parliament expects it. I will be present at the European Council. This is a message that I will bring forward. This is a complex, whenever we talk about enlargements are always complex. You have different countries, different parts, different steps to take, different rules to abide by. But this is the moment where we need to send the strongest of political messages. Ukraine belongs in the European family. Otherwise, as was said earlier, how are we going to answer to those populists that have been, fed disinformation for so many years that Europe is not going to address those challenges, that Europe is not really that project of democracy that we've said it is?
What about other countries such as Moldova, North Macedonia? What can the EU do? Because those countries are going to be upset if the EU gives membership to Ukraine and not to them.
No, absolutely. For us, the Western Balkans have been waiting for years. The European Union has been telling them for years. We have seen different asks from different countries joining the Schengen area, joining the Eurozone. We have a couple of countries that are about to join. So there are different paths and different integration levels for different countries. So if you ask me, for the European Parliament, we also welcome the applications also of Georgia and Moldova. So we're ready to open the European Union into more than just an economic trading bloc, but a project for peace and democracy. So my message would be, yes, of course, for Moldova, and yes, of course, for Ukraine, yes, of course, for Moldova and Georgia, and all countries that look, and this is the point I need to make, that any country that has looked at Europe as its home needs to find open doors. Now, timing is different, realities are different. Some countries that would like to be candidate countries are not fully implementing the sanctions, and we're going to hold them to account, but definitely this is time for Ukraine.
May I just circle back to something you said a moment ago about buying product from friends, not foes? Because one of the arguments, and this has been the German argument, that you keep that two-way dialogue when there's commerce on the line for both sides. You stop that dialogue, you don't take product from so-called foes. Where is the leverage down the track if there is an issue? Surely sanctions are ineffective because there is no leverage, which just leaves you with a military option. We just heard from George Soros before that this invasion of Ukraine may actually be the start of World War III. Isn't it dangerous to go down that pathway where military response is the only response?
What is dangerous is that we have millions and millions of people on this planet that are being held hostage with an impending food crisis. And I think that has to be our response when we are dealing with one country that is holding those billions of people hostage. I think at the moment, if you see that there is a Black Sea that is completely blocked, how are we going to open it up in order to create a humanitarian corridor for those food supplies and agricultural supplies that Africa needs? And I think if we don't use that as leverage in terms of having the purchasing power as a union, trading power that we have, but also services power as a union that we have, in order to use it, in order, yes, to maybe strengthen, if not maybe, but actually strengthen our transatlantic ties even more than they are today, look for partners that are not in Europe that could actually and are ready, and we have countries that are ready to fight this challenge together with us. I cite Egypt as an example. So I think our strategy has to change. It's not about Europe waiting for other big powers to act on our behalf, but to realize that we are the largest trading bloc with so many tens of countries. Are we going to use that as our leverage?